Hey guys, it's me Angry64 with another video. This is again another best in slot guide for Fury Warriors. This time actually recently we got the news Naxxramas is going to be released pretty soon, like in 2 weeks I think. And I don't think there's like a Warhead guide up yet. I saw like Dwarf Lord already made a video about this, and I thought why not give it my own spin. This time I'm not going to use like the Warhead guide because there is none. So instead, everything will be pretty much my own findings, own simulations, things like that. So there could be some misinfo, but yeah, everything is kinda like simmed and such. So it is should be mostly correct. We already had all of this information already, of course. It's not new. So yeah, I'm not saying everything's like my own info, but I'm just saying this is more often my own guide, not really like not everything's like sourced from somewhere else. So there could be some misinfo in this, just so you know. So this is more of an early, okay, what is actually the best in slot gear we can get in Naxxramas. So I made this character on 60 upgrades. People who watch my older videos probably know what the site is, but if you don't know, you can make your own characters and such, and pretty much give them gear and everything, and it's really nice for videos like this. So yeah, that's what I'm using right here. This is also best in slot for like for humans first, because I'm playing a human. Another thing is, which is really interesting, I simmed like all of the different races, and pretty much what I did is like human, orc, and then meme races from each faction, so like dwarf and troll. So that's what you also will see on the tops. That's why I have 4 more tabs, which are the different simulations, which I will also get into a bit. But yeah, this will be a bit of a longer video, because again, as I said, this is more of my general findings, more of my own informations, and I also want to talk about alternatives, because that is really important in Naxxramas, because Naxxramas opens up a lot of variety we can use. So yeah, enough of a tangent, enough of the intro, let's actually get to it. Get to the gear. So first of all, for our helmet slot, we are going to use Lionheart helmet. You will see some people saying you should use rank 10 instead. I don't agree, because of multiple reasons. First of all, rank 10 is just like alone, the rank 10 helmet is not comparable to Lionheart helmet. 2% crit and 2% hit is just way too good, as well as 18 strength. If this helmet didn't have any strength, you could maybe make an argument for that, but it does. And I think 40 attack power, you would need to replace 2 good items for just 40 attack power. 40 attack power is a lot, but still it's not worth sacrificing 2 item slots. I think you can make a point if you are going to talk about recklessness, but I just as an info, I didn't use recklessness at all in all of these simulations. I personally think it's not really fair, and not really like I think it's not really realistic, to be honest. You're only going to use recklessness. Yeah, you're not going to have it for every encounter, and it's not really something you can base around like your general damage and such on. Because if you really want to maximize recklessness damage, you would replace a lot of those things. You definitely, I don't think you would use Lionheart helmet. You would use a lot of different items. Pretty much you would try to replace everything which has kind of crit for items which have a lot more stats, like a lot more strength. But yeah, that's not something that's really realistic. But yeah, that's that. So yeah, Lionheart helmet, really strong. Still going to use it. One other thing which I don't see anyone, or which people are talking about, but yeah, not the people who are pretty much saying you should use rank 10, is actually Lionheart helmet doesn't have any stamina. So for things like trash, I would 100% recommend using a tankier helmet. Things like, for example, when this actually will load, maybe the rank 14 helmet. Yeah, not rank 14, rank 13, whatever. Things like maybe even this helmet. Or like Endless Rage is really nice for this, which is probably not showing up because I have disabled it. Let me actually enable all of this again. Yeah, I wanted to kind of minimize all of this, so I don't have everything up here. Let's do this, yeah. So you could use Endless Rage, for example, for trash, or you could use tier 2.5 as well. Like the Conqueror Crown, which is also pretty nice if you manage to get it. So yeah, that's like one thing I definitely want to mention. Like you need to be kind of careful so you don't use the vault buffs on trash and such. Which is also a thing you should do in AQ, definitely. Because the trash is like, I would say, harder than the raids, some of the trash. So yeah, definitely have that open to you. Another thing is we get a new neck. Storm Rage, Talisman of Thieving. It is really nice, 12 stamina, 2% crit, 26 attack power. However, it is not such a big upgrade compared to other necks, like previous necks we had. And this one drops from Kel'Thuzad. You will see a lot of the really good items are from Kel'Thuzad. And I would say the two last bosses, there should be kind of an like bonus information on that, because not everyone is going to get there, especially in the first weeks. Because yeah, they are kind of like gated. For example, Kel'Thuzad, like Sephiron, is one of the, I would say, gateways. I am not too sure about the frost resistance stuff and so on. So yeah, I have kind of have that in hindsight when I'm talking about certain items. Kel'Thuzad in general has probably the best loot pool out of any boss. His loot pool is so insane that you can actually use some of the items in TBC even. They are that comparable and that strong. So yeah, and of course when he drops in DPS neck, it is really good. Still, however, it's not that good. So yeah, for example, Barb Choker is still really good. 44 attack power, 1% crit, 10 stamina. This one has 1% crit more, but less attack power. So it is kind of even. I can also check really quickly how much DPS that actually would be. So let me have this open right here. So I have that already. So there, let's see if we would use Barb Choker. We would probably lose like, yeah, it's around 10 DPS of an increase at most. Okay, so that's that. Shoulders, Conqueror Shoulders. I talked about this in my previous best in slot video. We won't ever replace it, only in TBC. They are really, really good. They have just really nice stats and they look pretty cool. Like, let's be honest, this looks really nice. But yeah, this is also really important how gear of course looks. And yeah, these ones are just really nice. We are going to use a new enchantment here, which is the Might of the Scourge. This one, you can get this from Sephiron. He can drop like certain enchants, which you can use on your shoulders. And of course, it's way better than 30 attack power. It is 4 attack power less, but you get 1% crit, which is insane. One important thing, try to save these for TBC. In TBC, which was also pretty interesting for me, because I never did Nax in vanilla. So in TBC, actually there were not a lot, but people every week also did Naxxramas for things like, of course, a Cursed Ashbringer and for this enchant. And also, like, everyone knew, okay, when Wrath is coming out, all of this will get replaced. So also people wanted to get the tier pieces as well. But yeah, that's like another thing entirely. We also this time we got a new cloak, which is a slight upgrade compared to the previous best in slot one, which is Cloak of the Fallen God, which you can see here. However, in my opinion, you should not go for these items. So you shouldn't go for the neck or the cloak, because these are minor upgrades. If you already have, of course, the previous one. So let's say you already have Barb Choker, or you have the ZG one, or like for this one, if you have Cloak of the Fallen God or really good other cloak, I wouldn't really recommend going for Shroud of Dominion. Shroud of Dominion gives you 11 stamina, 1% crit and 50 attack power, drops from Sephiron. So again, like I said, what I said previously, have that in mind, hindsight. It's not that easy to get. And it is not such a big upgrade. It's actually really minor compared to Cloak of Fallen God. So let me change this again. Here we can check this really quickly. And you will see like it's even like pretty much even. If you don't have Cloak of the Fallen God, maybe you have this cloak, which I currently use. Yeah, it's like 8 to 10 DPS of an upgrade. But if you have worse cloaks, yeah, maybe go for it then. If you have, like, if your cloak isn't really that good. A definite upgrade is this one, Plated Abomination Ribcage, 45 strength, 25 stamina, 1% crit, 1% hit. This is pretty much the upgraded version of Breastplate of Annihilation, which we got in AQ. And you can see like the stats are slightly better. Not really slightly, but actually a lot better. So we have, instead of 37 strength and 13 stamina, we have 45 strength and 25 stamina. Everything else is the same, 1% crit, 1% hit. This drops from Thaddeus, which I think like most guilds will probably have no problems with this boss, unless they don't know what like plus and minus and left and right is, which some people will have some problems with, maybe, but I don't know. It's not that big of an issue. This is like, again, I think like 10 DPS plus upgrade. We can also check it right here. I will switch over a bit all the time, like for every single piece, so you can have a general idea how much of an DPS upgrade, side grade, or whatever it is. This doesn't really mean, okay, this 100% means this is correct. This is exactly 12 DPS less. There's a lot of different variables which are like involved into this, like fighting kill times, buffs you can have, things like that. So it's not 100% like perfect, but just so you have a general idea. But yeah, you can see like 12 DPS roughly. Yeah, it is, I would say, a meaningful upgrade, especially if you don't have this chest. So let's say you have, no, I need to check. Let's say you have HSGC. Let's say you are going to upgrade from this, and then you will see a way bigger upgrade, like 15 DPS. 15, really? Oh, I think, okay, this is probably that competitive. It's actually crazy. But yeah, maybe like you were using this one, which is probably even more, like 27 DPS. But yeah, it can be really good. Another thing which you can also use is this one, Ghoulskin Tunic. This is a leather chest which drops from trash. It has a pretty low drop chance. It has 40 strength, 22 stamina, 2% crit. So it is also really good. However, again, I would recommend using, of course, to play this one, because it has plate, you will have less competition, you will have more armor, and also one really important thing is you will have a bit more stamina as well. Like for Naxxramas, we kinda need to think about having some survivability as well. Unless you are a really, really good guild, speedrunning guild, which like pumps everything over immediately and everyone knows what to do. Then you can like go full damage, but it makes sense to think a bit about also your survivability as well. Because you don't want to be that person who dies on trash with ward buffs and then you are fucked for the rest of the raid. So yeah, ward buffs are really important for Naxxramas. But yeah, this is also a decent pickup you can make, but it is like leather, so maybe your feral druids should, I think it's probably a better choice to give it to them instead, to be honest. So yeah, that's that. Next one we have the Wrist Guards of Vengeance. So we get another new pair of bracers, which are also really good. So they give us 24 strength, 10 stamina, 1% crit. The problem with these is, if you already got Hive Defiler, in my personal opinion, I wouldn't really go for these. Let's say why. Let's actually look at it. So we have this currently. Let me equip this one instead, and you will see, yeah, it is pretty close. Like it is really, really close. The thing is, Hive Defilers are so strong because they have 2 offensive stats, but they have no stamina. However, Wrist Guards of Vengeance, of course, are kind of different. They have some stamina as well. But yeah, actually these ones have a bit more crit, because 18 agility is not really 1% crit. However, since we are on Alliance, like Humans, of course, they are on lines. We get a bit more benefit of these raw stats because of kings, and that's why they are so close. So if you have Hive Defiler risk guards, if you want to have the full name, maybe you are watching this without watching the video, so yeah, let me actually pronounce the full names. I personally wouldn't go for risk guards of vengeance. I would try to focus other items. So I have these bracers, I recently got them. I don't think I have made a video about that yet, but yeah, just for that info. They're really good, and I personally don't want to go for these unless I have like everything else. I think it makes more sense if you try to split up your loot where people get a bigger benefit from that. So let's say you have a warrior maybe who has Naxxramas Lowry Vindicators arm guards, which are like pretty bad if you compare them to what we have available right now. Then you can like easily give him like risk guards of vengeance. It is a best in slot piece, of course, but still, I think, especially when we are 40 people, we really like, it's really important to split up your loot. So not like one person has like all of the BIS pieces, then he leaves, and then all of the other guys are fucked because they don't have anything. So yeah, don't do it like that. So you will like, that will always go wrong. So yeah, these are in general, however, these are really good bracers. That's what I wanted to say. I will actually skip swords or like weapons for now. I will talk about them later because there's a lot of information I want to talk about weapons. Yeah, for our hands, Gauntlets of Annihilation, best in slot. Still, if you are like another race, Edge Masters are still like pretty much the thing you need to use depending on what weapons you are going to use. However, one thing I can also spoil. You can see on Hungering Cold, you see +6 swords. So even now, I can even say it for right now. For every single race, this is pretty much the best weapons I can grab. I can just say it like that. It is that good of a weapon. So yeah, for every race. I will talk about that, why that is in a bit later. But yeah, just so you have that. Next one we have is let me actually talk about the hands a bit. So yeah, Gauntlets of Annihilation. You get these in AQ from Kafun. There is no new hands in Naxxramas, so that's why we don't have any replacement for that. If you don't have them, you are a bit screwed. There are some alternatives, but not in Naxxramas. So you can either maybe use Gloves of Enforcement, which are pretty nice, but these will be highly contested by rogues. So yeah, good luck. Or what you can still use is Sacrificial Gauntlets, which are of course worse than Gauntlets of Annihilation. Or maybe like the rank 13 ones, which could also be another choice you could make if you are going to use like more of the set. But yeah, that is like, gloves are a bit yeah, a bit difficult actually to get. So you need to be kinda like thinking about what you actually want to use here. I think like there was also another piece you could use here. But yeah, you can see also the tier 3 pieces. Yeah, they are not really good for DPS, so that's why we don't want to use them. So all of the different hand pieces are from other raids pretty much. Girdle of the Mentor, new belt. This is a new Onslaught Girdle, which like replaces the Onslaught Girdle. 21 strength, 21 stamina, 20 agility, 1% crit, 1% hit. So huge variety of stats. It has less strength than Onslaught Girdle. So this is my, yeah, that's just that. However, it has a bunch of agility plus of course crit as well, like 1% crit. So that's why this belt is so strong, like stronger than Onslaught Girdle. However, again, it is not such a big upgrade. So if you compare to Onslaught Girdle, we will probably use around 10 DPS. Yeah, you can see, like, I was on point. So yeah, 10 DPS less. It is still an upgrade. However, in my personal opinion, if you have Onslaught Girdle in your guild already, and if you are like good with your guild and such, For example, for me personally, I have Onslaught already. I would like pass Girl of the Mentor to any warrior who has like shittier belts and is also, of course, like, a decent player. So for example, maybe he has like Zandalaris. Because Onslaught Girdle, trying to get it right now is really annoying. Unless your guild really still does MC runs. There are like less and less MC runs going around. And as well, a lot of the stuff is HR'd. With Naxx coming out, I think there will be even less people doing it. So yeah, that's also however one good thing, that some of the MC gear is actually getting replaced. But yeah, you can see it right here. If you have a Zandalars, for example, that would be, of course, a way bigger upgrade for you, like double the amount of DPS. So I would try to, like, in my personal opinion, I would try to go into that direction. For the legs, we have Leg Plates of Carnage, which is an interesting piece, to be honest. This piece is purely DPS focused, pretty much. It has some stamina, but it's pretty low, especially for a leg piece. We get 42 strength, 18 stamina on 2% crit. Like, the amount of strength we can get from this piece is a ton. And it's really good. Like, it's a really good piece. Especially on, I would say, Horde. It's even better. But yeah, just in general really good. Or is it way better on Horde? Yeah, whatever. That's not really that important. Previously, we used Conqueror leg guards or Titanic leggings. Both are like really good pieces as well. However, Conqueror leg guards, for example, which were our de facto BIS previously, is a piece which is more mixed. So what I mean by that is it has like a variety of stats. It has like tanking stats as well, like for example defense, which you don't really care about, has like more stamina, and of course like agility. And this one has like pure, like more pure offensive stats. So that's why these are actually really good. We can actually check it as well. Yeah, like 70 DPS, maybe even around 20 DPS. And that's actually one of the bigger upgrades where you can actually look at, okay, maybe I can grab these. Especially if you have worse legs, maybe you didn't get lucky with like Titanic leggings, or maybe you are still using the rank for 13 ones. Or is it rank 12? I think, yeah, it's rank 12. You can make the decision, okay, I want to go for these instead, like focus on leg plates of Carnage, because they are really good. For example, we have Titanic as well here. They are also worse, you can see it. Titanic and Conquerors are pretty much like close, but Conquerors are, I think, in my opinion, probably the better thing to get. But yeah, I currently have these right now. I will probably think about going for leg plates of Carnage. Maybe, I think it would probably make more sense to give it to someone who has like worse legs. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, this is a really nice piece, to be honest. Oh yeah, I didn't talk about where you can get it. I need to talk about it as well. So yeah, this one's from Hegan the Unclean. So yeah, probably one, yeah, it shouldn't be that hard to clear. As well as the Girl of the Mentor is from Vesuvius. This is one of the more annoying bosses, which requires some like actual mechanics with things like mind control and such. So yeah, it won't be that easy. I don't know if I talked about where you can get this chest, but this one is from Thaddeus. And yeah, I think I talked about it. Yeah, I talked about it. Never mind. Let's continue. Next slot is Chromatic Boots. Chromatic Boots, still we are going to use this one. These ones are from Blackwing Lair. There's also no new boots we can get in Naxx. There's like, of course, the tier boots we could grab, but they are really like bad. So don't use them. That's one thing you definitely don't want to use. We can also check these right here. Here, Dreadnought. But yeah, the only offensive stats we would get is like 15 strength. I think even for tanks, I think they are also really bad. So yeah, not a thing we want to use. If you don't have Chromatic, I can talk about some alternatives as well, but they are not from Naxx. So just so you know, first of all, we could use the Boots of the Fallen Hero. which is like a slight DPS decrease. They are a bit worse than chromatic boots. You can see it already right here. They have a bit more stamina, but they have way less agility, like 6 agility less. And yeah, you can pick them up from the bug trio. So definitely check how you can actually get them from them. So like which order you need to kill them. You can see it right here. So I think it says, yeah, if you kill them last, that's one thing also I think most people are doing as well. If you kill them last, you have a chance to get these. These are really good if you don't have chromatic boots. Another really nice piece, which is really close to chromatic boots, especially if you don't need the hit, is actually, which is not right here, but it is probably here, which is Boots of the Vanguard. You can get them from AQ20, from what is this boss again called? General something, I think. General Regex, yeah. You can get them. You should 100% try to get them if you don't have chromatic boots. These are really good. They're really close to chromatic boots. I can also show you that right here. So let's sim. Yeah, that's that. Let's equip Boots of the Vanguard. And yeah, really close. So definitely try to grab them if you don't have chromatic boots. I think for the boot slot, this is probably the easiest one you can get. Of course, you can also try to get Slime Kickers, which is like even the worst version of Boots of the Fallen Hero. But I think that's also like easier to get, also from AQ20. So if you need good boots, do AQ20. But yeah, that's like my tip I can give you. Next one, we have rings. So first one would be Band of Unnatural Forces. This one is a new big ring we want to use. It's a really nice strong ring. Drops from lower fab. Gives us 1% crit, 1% hit, 52 attack power. So this is probably one of the rings which every melee DPS wants to chase, or like DPS in general, like physical DPS. It is a really nice ring. So it is also better than Quickstrike ring, and it is just that insane. It's actually, now finally we can actually get some good rings, some really strong rings. Most of the time it was like Quickstrike ring was pretty much the best one, and for the other slot, like all of the rings were like really close to each other. But yeah, now we have actually a new really big ring. So that's one thing we definitely want to look at. You can see it as well as it is here. Let's say we want to replace it with this one instead. Then we can see how much DPS we would lose. So yeah, it's around 8 or 10 DPS, which is pretty big for a ring, to be honest. Let's say we would use this one instead. It's, I think, even less DPS. So yeah, 12 DPS. So yeah, it's a really nice ring. Try to get it. This would be maybe one thing you could also like try to look at if you one of the upgrades you can actually get, especially if you have a bad ring. So next one, I want to skip trinkets, and then first of all I want to talk about the ranged weapons. There's not really a lot to talk about. We have one new one, which is this one, Nerubian Slave Maker, which drops from, maybe you can guess it, can drop from Kel'Thuzad, of course, that's why it's the best one. However, I think probably hunters definitely want to use this. I'm not too sure about it, but I can guess, because yeah, I don't play a hunter. So also, as you can see, it's only really a slight upgrade compared to Larvae, because it has a bit more attack power. So if you have Larvae, I also currently have this one, I will not go for this one at all. So it doesn't make any sense for me, because you can see like the amount of DPS we lose is so slight. Like it's not really worth it. There's also another thing we can grab here, another bow, which is Soul String. Has 1% crit, 16 attack power, and some amount of stamina, which is also another option you could maybe pick up. However, this one, if you do AQ, like it should probably be like pretty easy to get this one. We kind of get it a lot. I think we got like 3 or 4 already. So yeah, it's not really that hard. You also have some other picks you can make. But yeah, this is not, in general, this is not really an important slot. Just here listed because technically it's the best in slot you can use. So now let's talk about some more complicated stuff, which is trinkets and weapons. So let's start with the trinkets. Now with Naxxramas, we have one trinket which stands above everything else, which is Z1 trinket. Like, it is insane, which is Kiss of the Spider. Actually, unique case. Finally, we actually have a trinket from a raid, which is a huge upgrade. And of course, because previously, for example, things like DFT and such weren't really such upgrades. Jump Gabar was like pretty much close to Earth Strike, and not really a big upgrade. But with Kiss of the Spider, we now have actually the big upgrade. So Kiss of Spider, why is it so good? I think. Let me open this here. So what this trinket does, it gives us 1% crit, 1% hit. So it gives us 2 passive stats, which are really important already, similar to DFT. And then it has an unused effect, which gives us 20% attack speed for 15 seconds. Yeah, this one is insane. So in general, attack speed is pretty rare on items. There's like one mace, for example, if you remember maybe my older videos, Empyrean Demolisher, which you can get from Kazakh. Yeah, good luck getting that one. But yeah, in general, haste is pretty rare. That will change in TBC, but that's not something I want to talk about right now. Yeah, sorry, I need to drink a bit. I kinda been talking for a long time. But yeah, it is such a big on-use effect, as well as giving us passive stats, that it's actually worth going for this one. With DFT, I made some videos, especially early on, where I said it is not worth to go for DFT because it's only a slight DPS upgrade over Hodge. However, for this one, 100%, we need to get this as Fury Warriors. That is our mission, we need to get this trinket. For me personally, I love haste as a concept, it is really fun. And haste in general is really strong for warriors. Why is it so strong? More haste allows us, of course, to get more auto attacks off, which definitely speeds up our rage generation, and we can use a lot more heroic strikes. So in general, it just boosts our DPS by a lot, and it's really fun to use. Just seeing you, for example, if you use a weapon swing timer, just seeing your weapon swing timer go apeshit, and you spam a lot of heroic strike is really fun. So yeah, this is like one of the trinkets I 100% want to get. But let's actually look at the numbers. So I have the setup right here. You can see also another trinket, which I will... let me actually replace this with DFT for now. So from what I simmed, this one is the best setup you can kind of use for like my settings and such. My settings are set up in a way where I use like a 35-second encounter plus minus 10 seconds, which is of course not the most optimal one, which is also not realistic for everyone, but I thought that was kind of a good like middle way where I can make some auto actions and such. If you really want to go for like all in, if you have a really fast guild and really like speedrunning guild and such, you can set it up to like 20 seconds or even less. But that's not really realistic for most, I think, especially like also not for us. Especially with next coming out, the encounters will be longer, so that's why I set it up in a way. So let's talk about why Kiss of the Spider is so insane. Again, like I said, it's simmed. Okay, we have this. Let's compare it to, for example, Diamond Flask. $60 DPS less. So this one is insane. And the thing is, which is also really interesting, we can also check if Diamond Flask even went off. But we should see it right here. Yeah, you can see it right here. Diamond Flask went off. 100% uptime. This is also important. So it was active for the whole fight, because again the whole fight was like less than 60 seconds, and still it is less. Kiss of the Spider is only active for 15 seconds, the on use, And the fight is like way longer, to be honest, like what I have set up, and still it gets, it massively beats Diamond Flask. But let's use other unused trinkets. Let's use Earth Strike, which is also a pretty nice trinket. Easily beats it. Let's use Jom Gabar, which is same story. Again, getting beaten. We can also use Slayer's Crest, which is also a new trinket which you can get next. Again, no chance. Kiss of the Spider is such an insane trinket, it beats everything else easily. Even if you have like even longer like kill times. Let's look at that. Let's set this to, I don't know, 240. Let's go. No, wait, that's a bit too long. I don't want to get it active twice. Yeah, I don't know. Let's set this to 60. So kind of double. Let's see how it goes then. So yeah, no, this isn't really that accurate anymore. Let me change this. Kiss. So yeah, let's have this. And let's have that as an reference point. And then again, let's for example use Slayer's Crest, which was the closest one. No, doesn't get beaten. No, let's use... No, it could be that Diamond Flask is actually better, but let's see. Nope, it's not. So that's what I meant by actually talking about it. Like why this trinket is so big. Now you have some general understanding why we definitely want to grab this one. This will be contested, I think, by rogues as well. Remember right? I think by like everyone. Because it has passive stats as well as an active. Naxxramas gives us actually 2 trinkets, which kinda break the norm of trinkets. So normally what we would have is we would have trinkets like Drakefang Talisman, which have like just stats, or you would have trinkets like Diamond Flask or Earth Strike or Jom Gabar, which have like an on-use. But with Naxxramas, for example, Kiss of the Spiders has both of them. So that's why these trinkets are so good. Yeah, let me actually sim this again, so I have a reference point again. So this is like the thing I was my highest DPS I could manage with just using that instead, unless I am fighting a certain enemy, which I will also get into. So let's talk about another trinket as well, which is Slayer's Crest. Wait, let's first of all talk about where we can get Kiss of the Spider. Of course, maybe you would have guessed it. Kiss of the Spider comes from Exner. Definitely a boss which can be kind of an difficulty spike. It is important how you actually go into the transitions and such, so you don't grief your tank. So yeah, maybe it needs to needs to have a bit of work to manage to clear that one. But I saw videos from like people in 2005 and so on clearing it pretty easily. So yeah, like having not really hard problems to clearing it. But yeah, whatever. That's not really the important thing for this video. Yeah, that's one thing. Another trinket we can use is Slayer's Crest. This trinket drops from Saffron, however. So this is, I think, in my personal opinion, harder to get at first. Because like Saffron is, has kind of an, like I said, the gateway of frost resistance and such. So yeah. However, this one gives us again passively 64 attack power. Sorry, and it has an on-use, which gives us 260 attack power for 20 seconds. So it is pretty much a better Earth Strike. And yeah, just like that. And also, I would say a better Jom Gabar. So also a pretty nice trinket, however, not as strong as Kiss of the Spider. So yeah, you could maybe... I don't know if it's better for rogues. If rogues can actually use this trinket better, but yeah, for us warriors, Kiss of the Spider is a bigger trinket. So that's like one thing. However, this is still a really nice trinket. Another thing which is kind of funny, you can use both of them. Which is also, like you can see, it's actually more DPS. But this one is of course not realistic. Like having one person with both trinkets is really greedy. Like you kind of course want to split up the trinkets. That's really important. And yeah, this is not really realistic. As well as the other thing being, if you use one trinket, you can't really use another one. Because the other one will go on a CD for 3 minutes. You can see, yeah, you can see, for example, Kiss of the Spider is not... wait, it is active. Yeah, maybe it got pre-popped. Maybe it is a bit... Yeah, I think probably because of the timing, maybe it got activated. But yeah, in generally, it is not really realistic to use 2 on your trinkets. But yeah, that's like another thing entirely. So I wouldn't really hardly recommend it. It could be technically BIS because also both trinkets give you passive stats. But yeah, you kind of want to swap it, like swap the trinkets around. Now let's go into the third trinket, which is Mark of the Champion, which you saw me equip earlier. Yeah, like here. What is this trinket? So this trinket is a pure passive one, so it gives us 150 attack power when fighting undeads or demons. So it is really good for Nax. And if you use this one, you can see this one even trumps out like using both on your trinkets. So again, against undeads and demons, this is technically our BIS. I would say like this is the best trinket. How do we get this trinket is, yeah, it is kind of easy and kind of hard to get. So we get this from a quest when we get the quest item from Kel'Thuzad. So Kel'Thuzad again has another quest item, like which every kind of end boss has. Yeah, not every, but a lot of them have. And this one we can make a choice between having an... Oh, this is SOD, man. Yeah, we can make a choice, either use this one, which is pretty much the physical one, or we can use one, get one with like spell power. But of course we want to grab this one. And that one is like really nice against undeads. This is only pretty much relevant in Nax. There's like no other like in raid fights where we are fighting undeads or demons. So this is pretty much only relevant for Naxxramas. But yeah, you would use this 100%. One other big thing, however, is you might want to keep this one for TBC. I haven't checked perfectly, but especially for the start, when you can't really get, for example, let's say brooch, like there's like a trinket you can get from if you turn in badges, but especially at the start, this will be a pretty useful trinket for you. There are a lot of demons and undeads in TBC, way more than in vanilla. Like for example in Karazhan you have a lot of undeads, as well as demons. I think the last boss is actually a demon, and you have some undead mobs also in Karazhan, like a lot of undeads actually. So yeah, way easier to make use of this trinket. So definitely try to get this for TBC. If you play the same character, definitely try to get this one. There's another trinket which is even bigger for TBC, which you can get in AQ, Badge of the Swarm Guard. But yeah, these trinkets have actually a decent usage in TBC. Especially Badge will be like really strong for TBC. But yeah, that's that. So that's how this one works. So now you have a general idea. That's why I have this right here. I have also set it up in a way where I am fighting an undead, of course. Otherwise it wouldn't make any sense. You can see it right here. Where is it? Here, mob type undead. But yeah, this is actually a pretty useful trinket. And it is kind of like if you have the general clear down, like if you can manage to clear Naxxramas proficiently, everyone pretty much can get this trinket. Everyone should be able to get this trinket before TBC probably comes out. Let's see how long they will actually let us do Naxxramas before TBC comes out. Okay, so that was a lot. Sorry for that. But yeah, trinkets. Actually, we have a big change in Naxxramas, which is nice. Now let's talk about weapons. And this is the point of the video which will, I think, which will take even longer. Because actually Naxxramas is the raid, I would say, where we get the most amount of weapons, which is like insane. So we have a lot of different weapons we can go through. Like there are tons of weapons, which is gives us a lot of variety, what we can use, but also make things a bit harder to gauge which weapons we should use. So one really important thing, which is really easy, what are the best weapons? These two. So these two weapons are the best weapons for every race, like for everyone. It is insane. So first of all, we have Gressel. Why is this not showing up here? Yeah. First of all, we have Gressel, Dawn of Ruin. Again, both of these weapons are from Kel'Thuzad, so that's why they are so strong. I don't know why Kel'Thuzad drops 2 swords, but I play a human, so I don't need to complain. Better for me, I guess. But yeah, this sword is insane. It has, like, the damage range we have on this weapon is so good. So it is 2.7 speed weapon, so pretty slow one. Has 15 stamina, 40 attack power. Now you would maybe think about, okay, like, doesn't sound that good, but the amount of weapon damage this one has is insane. So we can compare it, for example, to the PvP one. So let's do that. So let me scroll down here. So that's what we used to use, Grand Marshal's Longsword. And we can see Grand Marshal Longsword, first of all, is 2.9. So it's slower, like way slower than Gressel. That's one thing. Most of the time, when you have slower weapons, they will have more damage. However, not in this case. The lowest amount of damage we could do with this one is 138. It's the same case for both weapons. So that's already pretty insane. Secondly, the top end is 50 damage higher for Gressel, which is insane to think about. So first of all, we have a faster sword, and we can get more damage off it. Another nice bonus is we also get a huge chunk of stamina. 15 stamina is a lot. And yeah, all of this pretty much makes Gressel one of the pretty much the best weapon, one-hand weapon in the game. It is insanely good, and it is that good you can easily use it in TBC at the start until you replace it with maybe crafting one of the blacksmith maces, as well as maybe using things like Spite Blade or something like that. In TBC in general, you want to use 2 slow weapons actually in your hand because of Whirlwind, because it hits with both of your weapons. That's why you want to have 2 slow weapons, because they have tend to have higher damage. But yeah, just so you have that information, that's why it's so strong. For weapons, this is also the first time where people who have rank 14 actually get meaningful upgrades with their weapons. Rank 14 weapons are pretty much outclassed with everything in Naxxramas. Like, we have a lot of different weapons, and almost like all of them pretty much outclass rank 14 weapons. So, people who got sick of the weapons can kind of rejoice. You have some new choices to make. I personally didn't grind for rank 14 because I'm lazy, but yeah, I made some early mistakes when I went for my PvP grind, but whatever, it's not the point of this video. But yeah, in general, like, you definitely want to grab these. So this was the main hand. I think the next weapon is even, I think, more interesting. The other weapon for the offhand is the Hungering Cold. Hungering Cold is a pretty fast weapon, like not really pretty fast, it is insanely fast. So 1.5 speed, also drops from Kel'Thuzad. 140 armor, 14 stamina, and the most important part is it gives us +6 swords. So it has actually some weapon skill on it. And it looks insanely cool as well. Like, it looks like the South Park sword. The sword of, what was it, 1000 troughs or whatever. Yeah, it looks really nice. Also has a pretty nice range of damage. Like, the weapon damage is also pretty nice. But the +6 swords makes it so if you use this sword, you open up so many different gear choices, especially for races who don't have weapon skill as in racial. That's why it's so important. Normally, if you would have weapons or like items which like besides, for example, edge masters, but just weapons which give us weapon skill, they don't give us +5. We at least need +5 weapon skill. That's kind of the break point to get, like, reduce the glancing blow penalty and things like that. I talked about this like endlessly in our videos, but in general we need like +5 weapon skill. So you can see, for example, Death Sting only gives us +3, but I think it was in mind like rogues using this dagger, and they also have some weapon skill already with their talents and such. But for example, we also have Anubis, for example, which is, yeah, for example, this mace only has +4. This would be way better of a mace if it would have just one more weapon skill, but it doesn't. But this one gives us +6, which is insane. And generally, it is better to have weapon skill on weapons. So, yeah, that's why this sword is so strong, even on humans. As well as being in Kel'Thuzad weapon, this means it has a lot of damage as well, because it's a higher item level weapon. Yeah, makes it really, really good. In general, it's a really, really nice weapon. However, since it's such a good weapon, this weapon will be more contested, I think, than Gressel even. First of all, it is really very, very fast, so tanks definitely want to grab this. It is pretty much one of the best tanking weapons you can get. It has everything. It has stamina, it has armor, it is really fast, and of course it also has a weapon skill, which is important for threat. So yeah, this will be, I think, you will see this a lot on your tanks. And let's say, for example, you're maybe a Tauren or whatever, like having this weapon, you can easily use Thunder Fury on your main hand, and you don't need to use Edge Masters, which will open up a lot of different variations on gear and such, which you can use. So yeah, that's why this one is one of the like most important pieces actually. Not so much for your humans, but for everything else, to be honest. However, again, Kel'Thuzad weapon, pretty hard to get. Let's talk about some alternatives as well. For that, I will switch over, because we like, depending on which race, it is like different what kind of alternatives you can use. We humans, again, are really lucky. We have the perfect alternative. We have the Castigator. This one is a mace. One-handed mace, pretty slow, so perfect for our main hand. 1% crit, 1% hit, 16 attack power, 9 stamina. This is pretty competitive with like Gressel actually. You can see it right here. It is like 30 DPS less, but again, Kel'Thuzad in general, the gear from Kel'Thuzad is so insane compared to everything else in the Naxxramas. It is still pretty insane that it is that close, to be honest. Yeah, not really that close, but like 30 DPS compared to Gressel is pretty nice. But yeah. However, it makes more sense, of course, to replace Hungering Cold as well, because that's also from Kel'Thuzad. So what can we use? With Naxxramas, we have a lot of different weapons that we can use. We also have this sword. So Iblis, Blade of the Fallen Seraph, is another really nice sword. Pretty fast sword we can use on our offhand, which is also available to us in Naxxramas. I think there are, if I'm not wrong, there are like 4 swords in 4 swords. Anyone maybe remembers that Zelda game, but whatever. There are like 4 swords in Naxxramas we can grab. And this is like really nice for humans, not so nice for other classes. I actually don't understand why there are so many swords in the game. It's kind of weird. But yeah, I think Blizzard really loved humans, I guess, back then. But yeah, this sword, what does it give us? It is 1.6 speed, has a nice amount of damage actually, pretty close to Hungering Cold. 1% crit, 1% hit, 26 attack power. So really, really nice DPS stats. Now you would maybe say, okay, since it is that fast, tanks probably want to use it. But no, tanks actually have a better alternative to this one, which is, of course, Hungering Cold, but let's forget that one first. They have... where is it? Oh, come on, man. Ah, this one. Widow's Remorse. This is another sword that... What the fuck was that? That is another sword that drops in Naxxramas. Also 1.6 speed, 100 armor, 70 stamina, 1% hit. Again, like you can see, perfect for tanking. especially the stamina, also the hit if you need it. And of course, this is really easy to get. You get it in, I think you get it from, yeah, Grand Widow for Alina. Like way easier to get than the other weapons, and also looks really cool. Like, let's be honest, looks really nice. But yeah, this is like another weapon. So this one is pretty much free to grab for DPS. And let's sim it. How close is it? Yeah, 33 DPS. Pretty close to the best in slot set, and way easier to get. So if you have a pretty bad set of weapons, it is pretty easy to upgrade from that to actually, yeah, use this set. So now you would say, okay, like, this is not the best in slot set. I could just instead use rank 14 until I get like wrestle and such. Rank 14 is probably way better than these ones. No, it's not. So let's look at rank 14. How much does it fare against like the best in slot set? So this one was minus 30 DPS. And the previous best in slot set, which people used, was, like for humans at least, was Grand Marshal's Longsword and Grand Marshal's Swiftblade. And let's sim that. 80 DPS. So it is insane, like how much of an upgrade you can get even by not the best in slot weapons in Naxxramas. So yeah, like I said, rank 14 weapons pretty much outclassed. If you get weapons in Naxxramas, you won't ever use rank 14 anymore. Yeah, unless for, like, maybe you will use Swiftblade, because it's still a pretty nice weapon. But that's pretty much for humans. Again, we get Castigator. I don't know why this one even, like, okay, we also, there's like at least one other X, but still, there should also be another, I think, fast X in Naxxramas, but there isn't. I don't know why, don't ask me. I think it's pretty stupid. I feel kind of bad for Horde. But yeah, that's how it works. So this would be like an alternative you can make if you want to use that. There is no other slow sword in Naxxramas, so the only one is pretty much Grassil. However, we still have this mace, so pretty easy. You can like make some adjustments for that. So that's some alternatives you can have on human. Let's go through the other races for the weapons. That's why I'm even here. For Orc, now you would say, okay, we definitely want to use X's. Nope. The best in slot set is also Grassil and Hungering Cold. Wait, like actually change the song. It's a bit too much. So yeah, again, this is the best in slot set we can use, which is a bit weird because these are swords. But like I said, Hungering Cold opens up a lot of the different swords we can use. And since Grassil is pretty much the only sword, like the main hand sword, which, not sword, main hand weapon, which drops from Kel'Thuzad, which we can use, it's pretty much the best one. So if we can use it, we definitely want to. So yeah. However, what would be some alternatives to that? Let's talk about that really quickly. Instead of Grassil, there's like one axe we can use, which is the Hatchet of Sundered Bone, which is like a slow axe. Finally, we have some slow axes in the game. I wish this one was even slower, to be honest. It's not slow enough to me, but it is what it is. Pretty nice axe, and if you use, let's say, this one and Cruel, because there's no other fast X in Nax, or no other X. In general, we can see, okay, we are like at 40 DPS less compared to using Grassil and Hungering Cold. And yeah, that's like something you can use. This is pretty nice. So yeah, Orcs finally have actually something to use. So, that's probably why they did that. Yeah, so we have like one mace we can use as humans, and Orcs have this axe they can use. But yeah, there are not enough comparable things, to be honest, as well. Like there should be another fast axe as well, but there isn't. But yeah, that's something you can use as an Orc, or you can also use in your offhand, you could maybe also use the rank 14 one. Man, where is it? What the fuck is this? Yeah, here, High Warlord's Cleaver. Which is, yeah, even, this is even more DPS. However, it's a bit weird to use like a slow weapon on your offhand. You can also swap this around, but I don't know how, actually, I never simped this, but, wait, can you use this on, yeah, okay, you can use it. No, I also need to, but I don't think this is better, but we can check. I think this is probably worse, right? Yeah, it's, I think, worse. Yeah, it's worse. But yeah, you would probably, yeah, I think you would use this one in your main hand, and then any other X you can maybe get on your offhand. If it's a PvP one, or like maybe this one, less Kiraji War X, you can also use this. That would probably like way easier to use. The problem with this X is it's same speed. So I don't know why this X isn't like at least 2.7. Because having the same weapon speed is bad. You need to use a macro, stuff like that. It makes things a lot more complicated. But yeah, it's not something you can kind of decide, sadly. But yeah, at least there's a new X. You can use this as Horde. But still, like I said, there's nothing comparable to using something like Swords of Hungering Cold. One other thing is as well, if you use maybe Edge Masters, you can also check that. Maybe use Hatchet, and then you can use, I don't know, this one in your offhand, which is also something you can think about. The thing that is really nice about using Hungering Cold, first of all, it opens sword slots for other races, as well as it opens up using Gauntlets of Annihilation instead of Edge Masters, which we always had to use. So yeah, that's something we need to think about. But that's for Orc. We have like one X we can use here. Let's go into other races. So this one is Dwarf, as you can see here. So this is like more of a meme race. Again, same story. Aggressive, Hungering Cold, the best thing you can pretty much use. There's no other comparison. Same for here. You can also compare to the humans. Humans get like, they have like 30 DPS more. Orc have a lot more DPS. That's pretty much because they have like way better PvE damage focused things. Like they have Wind Fury, they have like the totems and such. Like Wind Fury is just insane. So that's something we don't have. And of course they also have like the DPS ratio that they always also use. All the things we don't have on Alliance. I wish we had Wind Fury, but that's the price we pay for Salvation. We pretty much don't really need to care about Threat instead. But yeah, I think always the other side always looks greener. So that's that for other races. This man, what's going on? This is for Dwarf. Again, you can see still this is the best in slot setup. However, probably if you play a meme race, you're using Edge Masters, I would say. I would guess so, like unless you are really griefing, or maybe you are using daggers. That's also another thing, but still you should be using Edge Masters if you use daggers. With Edge Masters, we can make some other adjustments. Since this is Dwarf, you will have easy access to this X. Let's say you are in Warrior, you have Edge Masters, you play on lines of course, and yeah, then you can easily get this X. No one will say anything, because of course no one on lines wants this unless they have Edge Masters. And then you can maybe go for this setup, which is pretty nice. You can't use maces with this setup. This is one really important thing, because there's like no mace weapon skill unless you use Anubis Warhammer, but it's not comparable to this one. So yeah, however, this axe is really good. Again, it's pretty similar. It's pretty much the same thing as Castigator. This one has like more attack power. This one has like 1% hit instead. But yeah, both of them are really similar. They have like the same range of damage, the same amount of speed. But yeah, that would be like one thing you could 100% use. This sword is really nice, like Iblis, for like a different variety of reasons. It is like easier to get than Hungering Cold. It is like pure DPS focused, and since there's another sword as well, tanks don't really need to worry about it. You could also check this one maybe. Maybe a tank doesn't want to have it, but you can see it's a way less DPS. So that's something we want to avoid. Another thing you can also do is, since with Edge Masters we also have daggers open, we can also use daggers. And of course, now you would say, oh, this sims really well, then I want to use King's Fall instead. Two problems. First of all, it's a dagger, so rogues will hate you if you want to do that. And this dagger drops from, good guess it, Kel'Thuzad. So yeah, it doesn't really make any sense, to be honest, to include this. But let's say maybe another dagger. We also have two more we can talk about. We have Maximus Fang. We can maybe use this one, or we could use Harbinger of Doom, would be another choice. But yeah, you can see both of them are not that good. Another thing is why you don't want to use that is because they have a really low amount of damage, and that's really bad for cleave. You will see sometimes really fast weapons sim really well, but that is because of different reasons. First of all, all of this is pretty much a simulation, so it is pretty much perfect. And with fast weapons, it is way harder to use them optimally than with slow ones. You will need to use a lot of heroic strikes to make a lot of use of them. As well as your rage generation is a bit harder actually. And another big problem is you will have a lot more threat if you use really fast weapons. However, one of the biggest reasons is you will have a lot less cleave. Like, it's way less cleave. So if you have any cleave fight, and I think in Naxxramas there are actually some, that is one of the big problems. I think there's like Anu Rekan is, I think, one cleave fight. Oh man, like I never really did it in Naxxramas and Vanilla, so I need to remember the Wrath of the Lich King version, which is like, I think, way different as well. But yeah, one thing that is really true, however, there's a lot of trash. So you can maybe use like a fast weapon setup for bosses. But if you want to use one for like trash and such, you 100% need to have like slower weapons. So you do a lot of big cleave damage. You will have a lot of trash in Naxxramas as well. So yeah, instead of that, I would recommend, if you are meme race or have like Edge Masters and can't get like Wrestle or something, use this setup maybe. You can also check one other thing. Let's say maybe you have Anubis and maybe you were thinking, okay, maybe I want to use that. No. Man, come on. Yeah, here. Yeah. This mace drops from trash in AQ40. Man, this is also some shitty music. This one drops from trash in AQ40. It is pretty rare. We haven't seen one yet, which is really unfortunate. But let's see how it actually works out. Maybe it's good. Who knows? Oh wait, I'm stupid. With this setup, of course, we don't use Edge Masters because it doesn't make any sense. So let's see how it fares up. Yeah, also less DPS. So that's kind of the unfortunate truth. The only way you are using Gauntlets of Annihilation on a meme race is if you have Hungering Cold. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, my brain is a bit off today. I don't know why. But that's pretty much the only reason, or like the only thing you can actually, the only moment you can actually use this. So yeah, even with this, it doesn't work out because it's only +4 maces, so sadly it doesn't work out. That's that. Now let's look at Troll. Troll is really interesting because they have the best DPS ratio in the game, easily. Like Berserking is really, really good. Like, it is insane. That's also where you see a lot of Troll tanks, because it's also really good for tanks. They can even make way better use of it. Let's say, I don't know, if you are really good for Troll and you time your things perfectly, like let's say you get Enrage, you get Crusader procs, and then you are really low, and then you are using Berserking, man, you're going to pump like crazy on a tank. I really love this ratio like Berserking, it's so insane. If you don't know what it does, let me pull it up really quickly. Yeah, here. So what it does, man, why is it so zoomed out? Let me zoom in a bit. So what it does, it increases your casting and attack speed by 10% to 30%. So if you are really low HP, I actually don't know what the threshold is, you get 30% more attack speed for 10 seconds, which is insane. Like, this one is easily the best DPS ratio. So yeah, really nice. That's why Troll actually, they can actually pump really hard if they do it perfectly. But again, with Troll, same story here. Like you can see, I have set it up on Troll. I have Wind Fury, everything up. Wait, I'm stupid. Gauntlets. Same story, sadly. The best in slot setup is the same thing. Hungering Cold. Gauntlets of Annihilation. Gauntlets of Annihilation. However, this setup does the most DPS out of every single race, I think. So you can see humans, they are 100 DPS behind, more than 100. Next closest would be Orc. But yeah, they are also behind. No, they are not behind, I'm stupid. Wait, why are they not behind? Did they fuck up some settings? Yeah, I think this doesn't include perfect usage of Berserking, to be honest, because yeah, the other ratio is way easier to use, but maybe I fucked up some settings. Let me check. No. Okay, yeah, okay, it's the second most. Sorry, my bad. I thought. Whatever, it's not important. Yeah, so you can see Troll is still pretty competitive. They don't even need to use that. Again, same story here when you use Gresser and Hung Cold. If we would use Edge Masters, which of course you should use if you are on Troll, like of course you should have if you're on Troll, next best thing is the setup. Again, same thing pretty much. However, this one is a bit harder to use. No Horde are pretty fucked. Because no, we have the problem, like this Axe will probably go to Orcs first. Especially to people who, yeah, especially because Hunger and Cold is like probably prioritized for tanks and such. And this one will make a lot more sense on an Orc Warrior than it will be on a Troll with Edge Masters. So we don't have an alternative. On Alliance, we don't have that issue because we can still use Castigator. However, we don't have that similar thing for, like, let's say, Trolls. So that doesn't really exist. All the other swords, this would be easily fixed if we would have another slow sword, but we don't. So now we have kind of a problem. We could use 2 really fast swords maybe, or like a really fast sword and maybe 1 dagger. Like that's this for example. Sorry. But yeah, you can see like we lose a lot of damage. That's one. Oh wait, this one doesn't have Crusader on it. I'm stupid. Yeah. Yeah, you can see we lose kind of a lot of damage. So that's one thing that's problematic. And that's one big issue out of this. We can't really make use of it. It is not really the thing we have, for example, if you use this setup. Let's use Hunger and Cold. But yeah, with this we don't really have that problem. Oh yeah, we have Edge Masters here. Oops. Yeah, this is like the nice combination of having being able to use Hunger and Cold and as well Gauntlets of Annihilation is really strong, especially for off races. So maybe you need to kind of decide how you will actually prioritize loot. That's one thing I want to talk about now really shortly. This will be like the last topic of this video. For example, Hunger and Cold is way more useful on races who aren't, for example, human. Like, for example, we humans, we already have the weapon skill, so instead of this, we could also use like Iblis. So it is less DPS, you can see it right here, actually like 20 less DPS, but this sword is way bigger on races who don't have the racial weapon skill. Now you could say, okay, why did they choose the meme race anyway? But yeah, making whole decisions because they started the character from the start, it's not really a good decision. So if they are decent players, if they are good players and such, and if they are good people as well, so don't behave like assholes, maybe make some, maybe try to give some Hunger and Cold first. One big thing, however, this is Hunger and Cold, you can see it from the stats. It is really good for tanks, so it will probably will be going to tanks first. So it will be pretty hard to get this one as in DPS at first. It also needs to drop, that's one other thing, but yeah. You will see still people talking about, oh yeah, I got, I don't know, this and this item from Naxxramas in classic era. Because yeah, it's like you still need to raid like for multiple resets and such to get some of the really big ticket items from Kel'Thuzad, unless you get really lucky. So that's that. Yeah, that was like one thing I wanted to talk about. Definitely try to play around you like loot priority and such. Another thing could also be if you have people who are sitting on rank 14 for a very long time, you could also prioritize giving them some of the new stuff, some of the new swords and such, just so they actually have something. Me personally, I really want to have the sword, but yeah, we still need to think about how we actually like split up the loot. Naxxramas definitely opens up a lot of different loot stuff you can use. One big thing, however, you can see right here, since this is DPS focused, we don't use any of the tier pieces, which is also nice because we don't have to compete with rogues and such, who definitely want to get them. But yeah, we don't have that problem. We can use off pieces and 2.5 gear. So yeah, that's that. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask them in the comments as well. This is a bit of a longer video, not a bit, this will be a pretty long video. I said this at the start as well, but I wanted to go over some things, like some of the simulations, some replacements, alternatives as well in this video, which I don't see a lot of people talk about, and I think this makes a lot more sense. One thing I forgot to mention, for the neck piece, there's also another new neck piece that drops in Naxxramas, which is this one, which is way easier to get than the other neck. It drops from Gothic. However, this one is really bad. It has 24 stamina, 1% crit, 20 attack power. However, it is not really good. Barb Choker and Eye of Kar are way better for DPS. If you really need the stamina, or if you really have a shitty neck, you can use this one. But actually, wait, I can even sim it. So let's do that instead. So we have this one. So let's see what would happen if I would equip Sadist. So yeah, 20 DPS, kind of less compared to, for example, using Barb Choker, which is like 10 DPS less. So definitely don't use that one unless you really need the stamina. Maybe you are tanking, or maybe it's decent for tanks, I don't know. But that's it from me. If you have anything else to ask, anything else to say, feel free to comment and such. I probably will be making more next videos and such. We'll see, and yeah, I will see you on the next video. Have a great day. Bye.